The Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, the Ablp, marked its 75th birthday on September 23, 2018, having been founded as the political committee of the Antigua Trades and Labour Union in 1943. The Ablp's very first manifesto was published on May 18, 1946, in anticipation of a July 1946 general election. The Ablp has straddled colonial, pre-independence, and post-sovereignty governance cumulatively for 7½ decades. Except for 3 election losses it suffered in 1971, 2004, and 2009, the Ablp was successful in 1946, 1951, 1956, 1960, 1965, 1976, 1980, 1984, 1989, 1994, 1999, 2014, and 2018, or for 13 of 16 election cycles. It is a heritage party whose governance is well remembered and has won the faith of generations of voters.
For the support that they have given to the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party during the last 5 years. I recall in opposition that I said to the people of Antigua and Barbuda that we will always honor their support, that we would empower them upon forming the government. And as you know, in June of 2014, the people of Antigua and Barbuda bought into the vision of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. At that time, we said to them that we would have transformed Antigua and Barbuda into an economic powerhouse in the Caribbean. And our opponents thought it was just rhetoric. And I can understand why, because at that time there was really nothing to boast about. At that time, we had a situation in which the country's economy had collapsed. We had very high levels of unemployment. People had lost their homes, their jobs, their cars, their boats. In fact, it would have been one of the most difficult economic periods that Antiguans and Barbudans would have faced, and that is the last 5-year period of the UPP administration between 2009 and 2014.
The Ablp lost 2 successive elections to an amalgam of opposition parties, rechristened the United Progressive Party, UPP, in 1992. In 2004, the Ablp won 37% of the vote and lost 13 of the 17 constituencies to the UPP. By 2009, the decline of the UPP's popularity was palpable. The Ablp regained 3 previously lost constituencies, raising the Ablp's percentage to more than 46% of the vote and lowering the UPP's to 50% of the 2009 vote. 5 years later, the Ablp won the general election of 2014 by capturing 14 of the 17 constituencies and winning 57% of the vote. On March 21, 2018, the Ablp won 15 of the 17 constituencies, garnering nearly 60% of the votes cast.
So we had a decimated economy. We also had financial failure. So we had banking failure, we had economic failure, and we also had fiscal failure, in that the government of Antigua and Barbuda could not pay its debts. In fact, even the IMF loan was in arrears when we came to power in June of 2014. The Chinese loans were also in arrears, and the potential loan to rebuild the cargo port was being jeopardized as a result of the arrears on the loans that were extended by the Chinese Exim Bank. So one of the first things that we had to do, we had to, within a matter of a few months, move quickly to clear the arrears. It was about $100 million in arrears that were due to the People's Republic of China, to the IMF, and a few other critical creditors, include the Caribbean Development Bank. Now, that $100 million initially would have been earmarked to construct our 500 homes in 500 days. But the priority at that time was to literally take care of those creditors who were literally hounding us at the time, and at the same time to stabilize the country's economy. So within the first 2 years of our administration, I would say that our most successful achievement would have been the stabilization of the country's economy, which meant that we had to reprioritize. There's no way that we could have completed the 500 homes in 500 days. That could not have been a priority when we had more pressing financial, economic, and banking issues to resolve. Now, you know too that even with the ABI Bank, in which we had $500 million in deposits at stake, we had to move quickly to resolve that issue and to save the funds of depositors.
Outstanding achievements in the past 5 years, June 2014 to June 2019. The rescue of the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Bank, Ablp, depositors' money without any disruption in the banking system is the greatest achievement of the 5-year-old Gaston Brown administration. The new Banking Act 2014 was made law, transferring more decision-making authority to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. All depositors received 100% guarantees. Cash was made available to pay those with deposits under $500,000. Not a single depositor withdrew his or her funds. The full faith and credit of the government was sufficient. Those depositors with amounts exceeding $500,000 received assurances of a payout after 5 years and interest payments of 2% in the interim years. The Gaston Brown administration engineered the purchase of the majority shares in the West Indies Oil Company, WIOC, including the acquisition of 130 acres of prime real estate for US $30 million, utilizing a bridging loan. The administration then sold shares in the WIOC and used those proceeds to repay the bridging loan. The land was separated out from the core purpose of the WIOC and transferred to the National Housing Company. WIOC has expanded its operations considerably, adding more than 1 million gallons of storage, partnering with Rubis at the VC Bird International Airport to sell jet fuel, and partnering with Shell to sell fuel to cruise vessels docked at the Heritage Key Port. WIOC has paid dividends exceeding $42 million since the acquisition, and its board has retained earnings for expansion and improvements. The purchase of WIOC was the second most outstanding accomplishment of the Gaston Brown administration since 2014. The purchase fits squarely within the guiding philosophy of the administration known as empowerment capitalism. The same tenets hold as in entrepreneurial socialism. However, the nomenclature was altered to avoid any confusion as to its purpose.
We paid off the IMF the $320 million that was owed. The UPP said they were making interest payments before, but certainly the principal sum of $320 million was repaid by my government. So in excess of a year ago, about a year and a half ago, we literally eliminated that loan in its entirety. And we reduced the debt to GDP from 104% in June of 2014 down to about 68% today. In fact, that has been one of the successes of my government in that we've been able to meet most of our obligations, and we have borrowed very sparingly and responsibly. So as a consequence, instead of increasing the debt to GDP, which is what happened under the previous administration, we've been able to successfully reduce the debt to GDP from 104% down to about 68% today. Now, I have to admit that the fiscal situation within the country remains very dire. It will take some time to trade out of those difficulties. But notwithstanding that, our government has proven to be a very creative, a very innovative, and entrepreneurial government, one that has been able to utilize very limited resources to create a significant amount of value. In fact, the truth is, the structural situation with government's finances is such that it should literally paralyze any government. It paralyzed the UPP's administration because they didn't have the type of entrepreneurial spirit. They didn't have the skills, they didn't have the experience, they didn't have the innovative strategies that my government have. And we've been able to utilize those skills to create a significant amount of value for the Antiguan and Barbudan people.
The new administration in 2015 abolished personal income tax as promised in the ABLP's 2014 manifesto, and the action is based on the reasoned paper submitted in April 2014, months before the June 2014 general elections, by the Honorable Gaston Brown. Despite the opposition to the plan by naysayers and the UPP mouthpiece, Observer Radio and newspaper, the end to PIT has come without a ripple. In fact, revenues have increased as consumption increased.
Because we want you, the people, to have strong disposable incomes, even though it places a level of burden on the government to meet its expenses. I mean, this is money that we really need to cover expenses. But we've said, you know what? Empower the people. Put the money in their pockets. And then when they spend the money, then we will earn taxes indirectly. So everything that we do in this government is about empowering you, the people.
The administration has completed the construction of 48 homes at Dredge Bay Villa, completed 90 homes at Painters with an additional 70 under construction.
The housing project beautiful. I think it was a very good idea by the government to do this project and many other projects like this, because it makes people who was on a rocky road to get a home. It was made available to many of us. So I think it's a good move, and especially on my part, I think it was an excellent move. The house came with some very good additions or plus to it. Like 12 solar panels that make my electrical bill decent. Because you have a water heater, you have pumps, you have a cistern come with the house, and good yard space. So, and 3 boys, a lot of ironing. The 12 solar panels, I think, is a good addition. I think it's an excellent addition to the house.
I love the neighborhood. It's quiet. The house, we don't have much issues with the house, and we have our solar panel, our heater, our cistern. When water is off, we still get our water and so forth. Outside of that, the house, it's been good living down here.
I welcome this, and I would applaud the government for its good work, and I hope they continue to do the same good job that they're doing. We have all underground facilities. We have a solar system, and we having all the best.
The National Housing Company continues to employ 350 workers who are currently constructing an additional 150 homes at Denfields. Additional acreage has been acquired at Royals Estate for 200 more homes, and an additional 100 homes are to be constructed at Marble Hill Road. China has agreed to build 300 homes as a gift to the Antigua and Barbuda people. 150 will be built at Booby Alley, The Point. 50 will be built on Barbuda, and 100 will be built in St. Mary's South. A Build Your Own Property program has seen the construction of 58 homes by the National Housing Company all across Antigua. 2 housing projects undertaken by the previous administration at North Sound and Follies were incomplete and unoccupied. Since 2014, all 100 derelict homes have been refurbished and are occupied. The new administration completed the repairs of several government-owned buildings, utilizing resources earmarked for national housing. The old admin building on High and Long Streets, the multipurpose center at Perry Bay, the fence and burnt-out building at Government House with the help of prisoners, the roof at the National Archives, which still must be redone. The National Library was completed and opened for occupancy and use, not a bogus opening. The Nurses' Hostel on Queen Elizabeth Highway has been refurbished at a cost exceeding $1 million. It was undertaken by a private contractor. Houses owing the Antigua Public Utilities Authority, or APUA, for electricity and water up to December 31, 2013, had their arrears eliminated. Small businesses were granted generous repayment terms. Hundreds took advantage of the offer, swelling the collections of APUA rather than draining resources as the opposition had predicted. The new administration, shortly after June 2014, granted amnesty to thousands of immigrants who were previously told that gaps in their lawful residency required them to commence their 7-year qualifying period in order to meet the eligibility for citizenship. Many would later qualify and became citizens of Antigua and Barbuda. The unfairness and injustice evidenced by the policy of the previous administration was tossed into history's dustbin. The administration also determined that a waiver of work permit fees for CARICOM nationals during the 6 months of 2014, July to December, would ease the burden on our CARICOM brethren and encourage every non-national worker to register. Thousands took advantage of the waiver and came forward to regularize their worker status in Antigua. Again, the revenues of the Labor Department would increase eventually, rather than witness a decline. The administration eliminated the $5 weekly charge for student inclusion on the daily school meals program. This policy formed a part of the Zero Hunger program that the administration implemented across Antigua and Barbuda. Regardless of the parents' ability to pay, all students across 29 schools are fed 5,756 hot meals daily at no cost to the parents. Contrary to the law, the outgoing administration denied newborns their birth certificates when their mothers failed to pay for the delivery services at the Mount St. John's Medical Center. The administration wrote off the debts owed to the Mount St. John's Medical Center by the new mothers, such that they could receive the birth certificates for their newborn children. The previous administration prohibited the issuance of the birth certificates of the newborn citizens until the MSJMC fees were paid. That unlawful policy was ended after June 2014. The transformation of the St. John's Harbor has begun. The $97 million secured by the administration on behalf of the Port Authority through the China Exim Bank are already being paid over to the contractor. Construction at Rat Island is far advanced. The new administration building is close to completion. Before works began at the Deepwater Harbor, $23 million were spent to make the cruise port ready by December 2, 2016, to receive the Quantum-class ships.
This is where they put all of the equipment, the production site. So you have your concrete plants, the storage area, all of the equipment is stored here. They feed the project from A1. The A2 area is where the warehouse is going to be constructed. So we're moving the warehouse from B4 into A2. This area this land was reclaimed. So this is now filled in. If you look here, you will see this area here on this new map. This is an updated version of this one. So you don't have any water here. So this is all reclaimed, and we're building the warehouse across the area that was reclaimed. So A2 will be the new warehouse area. The good thing about that is this is going to be outside of the container operations. So this will be, the public will have easier access to the warehouse outside of the ISPS environment, and creating opportunities for more services that can be provided there. A3 is the area that was earmarked for the construction of the administrative building. On the new map, you can see right here, this is the administrative building, pretty much completed in terms of the structure. So the 3 floors have already been built. The first floor will house the port and customs. Second floor will be entirely customs, and the top floor will be the port as well. So that area means that we will have a one-stop shop included in A3, with the administration of the port happening there. The transformation of the port is required because as technology, as the industry, and as the market demands greater and more efficient services, the need to reconstruct an environment that would facilitate the type of service that we actually do or we execute at the port was required. Since 1968, when the port was designed, it was built to facilitate the trafficking of pallets and boxes. That was 1968. In 1971, the market changed. No longer were boxes and pallets being shipped into Antigua. Containers arrived. And from 1971 to present, we have been moving containers in and around a break bulk port. The inefficiencies that creates, the risks for the public and the staff at the port were significant, as you had to move lots of people through lots of equipment and through many large pieces of equipment. The new port will feature a dedicated container terminal. That means that the warehouse, which now sits in the middle of the operation, will be removed. That warehouse has sat in one of the most pristine real estate locations in the port, right next to the quay, right under the crane. That also means that the crane was restricted from using the full extent of the quayside. So we could only move the crane a few meters to the east and a few meters to the west, and half of the quay was not usable. Under the new arrangement, the entire quayside will be accessible by cranes. As a matter of fact, we aim to have 2 cranes operating on the quayside, and with that additional space, we would be able to fully discharge and load 2 liner-size container vessels, the larger ones. That is something we're looking forward to. That means that the public will no longer have to dodge and shift forklifts and trucks and reach stackers. They will be outside of that zone and will be able to safely conduct their business in the new state-of-the-art warehouse that will be located close to where the old Bryson's dock was, inside of what we now call the dirt pen. That transformation, I think, is going to lead to a whole new level of efficiencies, as customers can now access the warehouse outside of the port ISPS area.
The IMO, International Maritime Organization, mandated that by the 8th of April, the documents that are required for clearance for ships should be standardized worldwide. In addition to that, they also said it should be through a single window portal, information transferred to all stakeholders. With the assistance of Norway and the IMO Secretariat, Antigua was able to develop and roll out the first maritime single window in this part of the Caribbean. So on the 8th of April, we were able to demonstrate it in front of the IMO and took questions, and there was an official handover, and right now we're in the transition phase of that software. We are registering local agents, stakeholders, and on the 1st of November, we will move fully over to a digital platform where vessels will submit all the documentation for clearance electronically and receive clearance prior to coming alongside at the port. And that pertains to vessels, cruise and cargo at all ISPS certified facilities.
The single window is also going to prove to be a significant enhancement, not only to the technological platform of the port, but to the services that we offer. And so as we roll out the single window with the new one-stop shop, it would mean that a customer would be able to log into the system, access the services they want, and be responded to from that one location. So truckers, brokers, importers, customers, business people, exporters, shipping agents, and ship owners all will be able to look into that single window and be able to be serviced from that one location. In truth and in fact, the project will deliver a new and efficient transportation, logistics, and port management platform and place Antigua in a whole new different level as compared to its neighbors, and possibly competitively from a global perspective.
We're working towards retraining all of our staff to move into the new era of the port. We've been training our supervisors, we're gonna initiate training for the line staff so that we can begin to handle our customers' concerns better for the new port. The new port is going to be separated, the warehouse is going to be by itself, the container yard will be by itself, and so we have to train the staff now to begin to handle the operations better, to be more efficient, and to make sure that the service that we're rendering will prevent the bottleneck that we've had now, and going into the future we won't be having anymore.
With the new maritime industry changing and the new development of the port, it will ensure that when vessels arrive in our shores and to our berth, that we will have an infrastructure that will facilitate easier moving of cargo, and that will ensure that the containers and all cargo coming into the island comes in at a much faster pace. This will ensure that the financial aspect of it then therefore will increase from a revenue perspective. As the more cargo that enters our shores, we will increase our revenue. Transshipment will also be offered here, and with the transshipment hub, we will have a facility that we will ensure that vessels coming to our shores are able to disperse cargo, which can be taken to other Caribbean countries, as we have the perfect location for the transshipment. This too is another revenue stream that will be implemented.
Right now we're considered a domestic port, but we have to move beyond that. The way in which we do that is through IT. And so that is why the IT component is perhaps one of the most important components going forward, because of the fact that it allows for certain efficiencies. Right now we're paper-based environment, and so we want to move away from that, where we can begin to use technology efficiently. One of the things that we want to do is to begin to enhance the human capacity. That is our staff. They're currently paper-based, so we have to get them to be tech savvy. When that is done, you'll find that we're able to serve the customer more efficiently, more on-time deliveries, more information. We have our website, which is now pushing out a good bit of information, www.anuport.com. We have our vessel schedule, which has proven to be very important for the cruise industry. Now the local merchants, they're able to now better manage their business because they know when the ships are coming, where they'll be docked. But we're going to have what is known as a terminal operating system. A terminal operating system allows us to better manage the containers, and as a result we're able to tell the customer where exactly on the port the container is at all time. We're able to help the lines by being able to plan ahead, organize the containers in a more timely fashion. And so at the end of it all, you'll have a more efficient port where customers can come by, do their business, and leave the port. And so that will then have the effect on the economy, whereby if we are efficient in the port, in handling the cargo, then it will spill over into the economy. Because like I mentioned, the port is the driver of the economy. And so once we get that right, then we can begin to realize the goal of the Honorable Prime Minister, which is to turn this country into an economic powerhouse.
This new development will help us significantly. It will separate the warehouse from the warehouse part of it, from the quayside, which is where we take stuff from vessels to shore. Because what we do is receive cargo, we deliver cargo, and we store cargo.
The port is also going in line with other international ports. So therefore, as was mentioned before, the warehouse will no longer be in the full operational area, so that will eliminate physical persons walking through the operational area. So that will be basically equipment, and therefore the standards in terms of equipment operators are going to be on a different level as is currently.
Ideally, we don't want public and machinery intermingling. This actually separates vessel port interface from the public and the warehouse aspect of the operation. So they're two separate entities actually functioning in the same space. So the public will now be able to access the warehouse without having to walk through vehicles, rigs, trucks, stackers, and that sort of thing. So that significantly reduces the liabilities that we have from a safety standpoint. So we have persons who don't generally operate on the port actually having to walk through that environment to go clear their cargo. That's a significant challenge that we try to manage as much as possible, and those challenges increase for us during the busy seasons like Christmas. So we have a lot of human resource now engaged in monitoring the environment and trying to police. That goes away in this new environment.
The students that we have here is as a result of planning after I took the reins of being the chairman of the Antigua and Barbuda Port Authority, because when we got here we realized that not too much effort was made or planning was made in the Marine Department, and we had our staff in the Marine Department. They were getting ready to retire, basically, and some were asking to be relieved because they wanted to do other things. And so what we recognized is that we had a marine department that in a few years would have been basically obsolete. And so we went out and did an approach of sending out information via the World Wide Web, basically, and we asked our human resource manager to effect a plan in terms of getting other persons interested in the marine department, because sometimes it appears as if the Port Authority is just an area where people go when they don't have anything else to do, and we have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that that is not the case, and that we are a technical area of the government and the economic planning of Antigua and Barbuda. And so we went out and we got some youngsters who were interested. They got government scholarships and they are now at the Caribbean Maritime University. It is a vision that the Prime Minister has asked that we look at in order for sustainable development at the Antigua and Barbuda Port Authority. We have about 22 students now studying, and I'm telling you, we will engage some more students, because what we want to do is to have a successive plan where the Antigua and Barbuda Port Authority will remain the focal point of our economic development in Antigua and Barbuda. I am told that there is an increase, and I can speak about it from the tourism side. I can also speak about it from the Port Authority side in cruise ship. From last year, there's about a 13 to 15% increase. On the weekend, we berth at least 3 tankers, and so I have said it oftentimes that we do not create the environment for the development. What we do is to facilitate the environment, and so calls will come into Antigua and Barbuda because of what we are doing, and we will facilitate. And quite frankly, it has increased over the 5 years that I have been sitting here as the chairperson of the Antigua Port Authority.
Because of the development and the training that's going on, students and young people in Antigua are able to come into the field and to get new opportunities. As you see, I'm presently flanked by some of those students who are actually home on holiday from school in Jamaica. So it would benefit the port greatly and greatly enhance the ability of Antigua to perform maritime operations greatly.
As a youngster, I used to go down to the Point Wharf and I used to see the cruise ships turning on a dime. I used to wonder, how is it that that's possible? Such machinery just sitting right there and just making a 180-degree turn. And having gotten the opportunity to go off to school, I now understand why. It has opened me up to an entirely new world as compared to what I'm accustomed to as being a landlubber. So I'm, for lack of better terms, very grateful for the opportunity.
The opportunity that I have been given is immense one, and it's also prestigious one, so I look forward to actually doing my best. To develop Antigua is something I've always wanted to do in any capacity, and as a youth you can only strive to be the best, so that's what me and my team is trying to do, and can only see that development is just going to bring us further along where we want to be as individuals.
We're just about to get $100 million approximately invested in that sector. Global Ports is now partnering with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines to build out our cruise tourism facility so that we will see a significant increase in the amount of tourists. RCCL alone, they have agreed to double the amount of tourists within the next 4 years because they'll be bringing the Oasis class ships here. The people of Antigua and Barbuda know that a fifth berth has been constructed that will lead from Point Wharf right into Heritage Key, bringing the largest ships in the world to Antigua and Barbuda, ships that previously we have not been able to accommodate. So our cruise tourism product clearly will grow exponentially, bringing more benefits to the vendors, to the taximen, to the excursion, those who operate these cruise excursions, to the store owners. We're doing everything to empower the people of Antigua and Barbuda, and that is ultimately our mantra, to empower the people of Antigua and Barbuda. So again, significant improvements in terms of the amount of hotels, the expansion of the rooms. We're bringing more tourists, more airlift, and even with the cruise tourism, we would have seen an increase already, because we have a commitment even from Carnival to increase the amount of tourists that it will bring for the summer. So on every score, notwithstanding the difficulties that I spoke about, some of which continue to persist, including the fiscal problems that we have within the central government, the reality is we're making a lot of strides in the various sectors. Even CIP, which at one point literally tanked out, we've been able to remodel the product, and today, we have restored the respectability in terms of the amount of income that it brings into the country. And I want to just say this to those who may be ignorant about the CIP. The Citizenship by Investment Program is an investor immigration program. You have literally, let's say, over 100 investment immigration programs throughout the world. The United States has one, Canada, Britain, you name the country, and they have an investor immigration program. So it's not a program about illegitimacy. It's a legitimate program in which investors have been incentivized with citizenship in order to invest in our country. And clearly, it provides the added benefit of travel for the investor, travel-free, hassle-free travel. In addition, some level of security, because for some countries, when you're operating in particular regions, like Americans, for example, operating in the Middle East, if you travel on an American passport, you become a target. But if you have an Antiguan passport, then clearly it provides you with a kind of security that will help you to operate in volatile areas. It also provides some level of security in terms of those who live in certain volatile areas in which they want to have a second home.
The University of the West Indies has agreed to place the fourth UE landed campus at Five Islands, St. John's, Antigua. The core building has already been constructed. Though built for a secondary school, an expansion of the building complex on the lands at Five Islands is already planned. In its 71st year in September 2019, the UE will add Antigua and Barbuda as the venue for its most recent campus, following Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and Barbados as the other three. The Attorney General and the Minister of Education attended the May 30th, 2019 meeting of the Technical Committee and report that the document establishing the fourth campus has gone to the UE Chancellor for signature.
So no one can doubt that we have made significant strides in the area of education, increasing the school plant, and even the passes that we have seen at the common entrance level, certainly at the level of CSEC, CXC and CAPE, that we would have had superior performance compared to the previous administration.
The administration determined that it would encourage automobile ownership in order to provide economic opportunities for many and to supplement the public transport system that operates within certain fixed hours. Used automobiles enjoy at least 50% waiver of duty and environmental levy when imported for personal use. Car ownership has soared, creating new possibilities for many families previously without autos. Additionally, the insurance companies, the finance companies, and the petroleum distributors have experienced a boom in new customers and sales, resulting in windfall profits. The plan to curb crime has succeeded. More vehicles have been provided to the police, making the police highly visible in the daytime and at night, allowing promotions to take place, and by changing the leadership, higher police motivation and performance and lower crime have been achieved. The promise to strengthen the police force has also occurred. More trainees have been recruited. More jobs, especially for young males in construction, have significantly reduced the number of idle males who once slouched around street corners idle. The ABLP administration ended the requirement for certificates from the Inland Revenue Department, the Board of Education, the Medical Benefits Scheme, and the Social Security Board to be supplied to customs by brokers and companies before goods can be cleared. The end to that onerous requirement was welcomed by businesses. The owners and managers regard the cancellation as creating an improved business-friendly environment. The ease of doing business has been made much easier. The amount of water now flowing through the pipes has doubled since 2014 June. More than 6.5 million gallons of potable water are desalinated daily. APUA delivers more than 7 million gallons each day. The installation of a 2 million gallon per day reverse osmosis plant at Barnacle Point has significantly increased the output capability of APUA's water division. Another reverse osmosis plant will be constructed at Bethesda by the Japanese in order to enable many farms in that area to have access to sufficient water daily during periods of drought. The promise to attract more than $1 billion in investments in 5 years has been surpassed. Nearly $3 billion worth of tourism investments have been pledged, and more investments are still coming. 12,000 new jobs have been created since June 2014. More investments, more jobs, less taxes.
We continue to be very entrepreneurial in our approach. We have clawed back a number of assets that were given away by the previous administration. The people of Antigua and Barbuda will recall that the government had given away 10 acres of prime beach at Valley Church to an investor who did not invest $1. And we in turn had to pay that investor $1 million in order to get back the people's land. Entrepreneurship does involve some level of risk. I mean, diversifying into the marijuana space brings with it some risk, but there are also opportunities to be gained. Similarly, in the digital currency, blockchain, and cryptocurrencies, there's some level of risk. But one thing I can assure the people of Antigua and Barbuda, we're very cognizant of the risk, and we will certainly make sure that we put systems in place, especially the regulatory environment, to manage those risks effectively. So again, we have made a lot of progress in the area of green energy. We have been transitioning into green energy so far. We have committed about 35 million EC dollars in green energy applications. By early next year, we'll be implementing 1 meg of green energy in Barbuda, making Barbuda the first totally green island in the world, powered exclusively by green energy. That is a level of our commitment to Barbuda. And as you know, in the case of Barbuda, there are several hotel projects that are taking place. You have already the PLH project, the Discovery Bay project that has started. And I believe that they would have invested no less than about maybe $50 million already. And that project promises to bring us at least maybe $200-300 million a year in investments. Robert De Niro, I understand now, has now mobilized to start work for his Paradise Found project. And the other investment projects for Barbuda. Here in Antigua, I have to tell you that tourism is doing better than at any time in the history of Antigua and Barbuda. I mean, just there in April, we had a record amount of arrivals for any April in the history of our country. I'm quite sure by the end of this year, we will have no less than 300,000 tourists coming to our shores. So overnight tourists, clearly, would have increased significantly. We've had 2 hotels that have opened up their doors this year. The Royal Antiguan, bringing 388 rooms into circulation. We have had Hodges Bay Club bringing in another 120 rooms. And we also will have Hammock Cove that will come on stream later this year. And in terms of other projects in which a significant amount of monies have been invested already that will come on stream shortly, they include, 1, the Kaluluki project, which will be a Waldorf Astoria. We're told that later this year they will continue construction. We also have 2 Marriott hotels to commence operations, or at least construction here. one at the airport. I'm told right now that Marriott is now looking at the drawings, and within a matter of weeks after the approval, they will start construction. We have several branded hotels. There's a one and only presently. They're just about to sign off on the purchase of the land to construct a one and only at Prince Point. And I'm told too that they're looking at one for Barbuda. And, it's just an exciting period. Ambassador Calvinier, for example, he'll be doing a major wellness resort at Valley Church Beach. And I can go on and on with and these hotels are where the investors would have vested a significant amount of cash already. So, for example, Ambassador Calvinier has spent over $20 million to acquire land for his resort. And he's presently doing his drawings. In the case of Replay at Half Moon Bay, they'll be doing a Rosewood Hotel. They have spent over $35 million already purchasing land and doing the drawings. So these are not idle projects in which people are making idle pledges. All of the projects I've spoken about, a significant amount of monies have been vested already. So we know that these projects will take root. And it demonstrates the fact that we have delivered to one of our pledges to bring more investments to the country. I mean, we have a couple $2 billion of investments that we have attracted already and more to come. So it is evident that my government is a performing government.
Materials for manufacturing have been relieved of ABST, RRC, and customs duties. Presently, equipment and tools receive the same treatment. The manufacturing sector in Antigua has declined because of the high cost of inputs and the relatively high labor costs. By eliminating the cost of inputs when the goods are expected to be exported, the manufacturing sector enjoys an advantage that acts as a catalyst to growth. The ABLP promised to bring supplementary appropriations before the Parliament. Supplementals for the 10 years of the UPP were brought by the new administration before Parliament in May 2016. The parliamentary reporting has remained constant. The plan to fix MSJMC has worked. The ABLP administration has stocked the hospital with medicines and supplies. $30 million of new diagnostic equipment has been purchased. 6 successful kidney transplant operations were conducted, and more are planned. Other medical procedures privately available in Antigua were introduced at the MSJMC when they were not there before. An ophthalmologist has been hired, and there are doctors available with regularity. The ABLP promised a competent and experienced management team. Dr. Duncan and the new team, hired by the board of MSJMC, have turned the performance level of the hospital around dramatically. The party promised to review the arrangements with the cancer center, and it did. Many Antiguans who, as cancer patients, required radiation treatment and chemotherapy have been successfully treated there instead of having to go abroad. OECS citizens are treated at a reduced cost, making medical tourism a reality in Antigua.
No one can doubt that Mount St. John today is the best hospital within the OECS sub-region, and we have even other services to follow. In fact, one of the areas that we'll concentrate on moving forward is the area of telemedicine. So we expect, for instance, to be delivering very shortly medicine using drones over to Barbuda, where I then have to fly them over to send them by ships, and to even to do diagnosis utilizing technology. That is where we're going. In fact, my government has not only been very entrepreneurial, but what we have done in essence as well is that we have created a space for technology to thrive in this country. So within a matter of a few weeks, Antigua and Barbuda will see the opening of its first stem cell therapy facility in Antigua on Friesel Road. It is a world-class facility in which we'll have world-class physicians operating there, providing a new form of medical technology to treat people.
We are going to offer state-of-the-art facility with state-of-the-art stem cells that will be treating a variety of conditions. Some of these conditions have to do with connective tissue disease, which has to do with your bones and your joints and arthritis and malformation. Some of these conditions that are going to be treated have to do with your nervous system, with autism, with strokes, with dementia.
The Gaston Brown administration has expanded 5 school plants by making available 1,000 new chairs and desks for students at formerly cramped high schools. Jennings, All Saints, Princess Margaret, Antigua Girls High, and Clare Hall Secondary Schools have all had their school plans enlarged. The delivery of education, teacher comfort, and better spaces for administrators have been improved. The Gaston Brown administration built a new high school at Tomlinson's for EC $14 million in 2 months and 1 week. The CDB estimated the same construction to cost US $14 million and would take 2 years to construct. The administration has set aside $9.3 million in 2019 for the repair and upgrade of schools across the country in order to ensure that teachers, students, administrative staff, and others work in acceptable conditions. The Ablp government planned to make and keep our country a green energy state. They have already placed 10 megawatts of green power in Antigua and Barbuda. The plant within the airport compound produces 3.5 megawatts. The government buildings have been outfitted with plants that add 3.5 megawatts to the green energy production. Barbuda has had 3 megawatts added to its generating capacity, although Hurricane Irma trashed the plant and caused the administration to have to begin all over again. The job creation exercise through the Youth Skills Training Center has been renewed. More than $4.5 million have been spent annually on this program since June 2014. Meantime, new hotel rooms in refurbished and new properties have hired several hundred youth, relieving the administration of the additional resources required. The administration identified and began nurturing talent in sports and culture. Miguel Francis, for example, was made attractive to the UK sports only because he had performed exceedingly well. Alzari Joseph has become a West Indies fast bowler, in the tradition of Anderson Roberts and Curtly Ambrose. Rakeem Cornwall is a giant who makes runs each time he takes to the wicket. 4 island girls rowed across the Atlantic when the challenge was laid down by the Honorable Prime Minister. Their safe return to Antigua after 47 days at sea was hailed as an outstanding achievement by the entire nation. Support for West Indies cricket has been heightened, and test matches are being played at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. The national embarrassment of having the shortest test match ever after 10 balls were bowled when sand was discovered as the material used in the outfield during a February 13, 2009 match between England and the West Indies still reverberates. It was very much a reflection of the incompetence of the UPP administration. Antigua lost its place as a test match venue. That has since been reversed by the Gaston Brown administration that is now partnering with the West Indies Cricket Board, or Cricket West Indies, to own the Stanford Cricket Field and to have the West Indies Cricket Board build a new headquarters just outside of the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. The ICC Women's T20 Cricket World Cup was exceedingly successful, despite adverse remarks by the opposition prior to the games. The Sir Vivian Richards Stadium was full to the brim on both the Thursday and Saturday, November 1st and 3rd, 2018, respectively. In December 2018, the Bank of Nova Scotia attempted to sell its interest in 9 Caribbean jurisdictions, including Antigua and Barbuda. The Gaston Brown administration has insisted that a consortium of local banks ought to be made the offer first. A vesting order required by law would not be signed by the Minister of Finance until such time as the offer is extended to the local banks at the same price as the intended purchaser. That sale has not yet been consummated. Reversal of the original decision to sell to a firm from outside the ECCU region would be regarded as a victory for the Antigua and Barbuda people. The creation of NAMCO, the National Asset Management Company, to receive dividend payments from the government's investment program has been adeptly managed and the resources judiciously dispersed. NAMCO's monies have been further invested in the building of a new hotel, invested in a dredging company that has already secured millions in dredging contracts, purchased the unfinished Sunshine Hub and car park for a fraction of its construction cost, and continues to earn dividends from WEOC and State Insurance Company. Outstanding achievements in the past 5 years, June 2014 to June 2019. The number of students receiving support from both the Prime Minister's Scholarship Program and the Board of Education Loan Program has increased exponentially since the June 2014 date. Resources from both the 25-year-old Board of Education Act 1994 and the Citizenship by Investment Program have swelled the total amount available each year to more than $30 million. Students may choose to go to China, Cuba, Estonia, Morocco, Russia, the US, and even the UK, utilizing the supplementary financing provided by the scholarship program. When the fourth landed campus of the University of the West Indies is established, resources allocated to the programs will be diverted in part to meet UE obligations. The administration has initiated an entrepreneurial development fund in order to make capital easily available to those who are willing to risk their own resources to develop new businesses.
In May 2019, the government launched the Prime Minister's Entrepreneurial Development Program, EDP. By far, this has been one of the greatest accomplishments under the Gaston Brown-led administration because it provides funding for startups and existing businesses, giving every Antiguan and Barbudan equal opportunity to own a stake in our economy. I am therefore proud and humbled to be a part of this great program and encourage all citizens to explore the benefits that the EDP affords. Get your application forms at the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority located on the first floor of the Sagicor building on Factory Road. Call us at 481-1001 or email info@antiguabarbudaedp.com. Hearty congratulations to the government of Antigua and Barbuda for this great initiative that seeks to build an entrepreneurial culture.
The funding is not intended to support merchandising of imported goods. Rather, funding will go to those enterprises whose principals will create new products and new services that will enlarge the economic well-being of the country. The resources have been transferred to the Caribbean Union Bank, and a special window for the loan of the funds at a very low interest rate has already been agreed. A joint venture capital fund has also been created to assist those already in business, but who need additional capital to expand their offerings.
Everything that we do in this government is about empowering you, the people. Even issues such as NCDs. We've been addressing the issue of NCDs, that is non-communicable diseases, because we want Antiguans and Barbuda to lead healthy lifestyles. We want the people to be at the productive best, to be healthy. And you would know that even gym equipment, we have made them duty-free because we want you to be able to afford your gym equipment, even to import a threadmill, to have a threadmill within your home. And not having to worry about paying maybe 50% taxes when it gets here, because we want you to have access to the things that we have. It's about empowering the people. The very economic philosophy that we are pursuing is about empowerment, and we call it empowerment capitalism, so that rather than allowing the majority of the profits that are generated within the country to be, let's say, repatriated to other countries, we have decided that we'll allow Antiguans and Barbudans and the government to participate more heavily in the ownership so that we can retain more of the profits. And when we retain more profits, then it means that we can even fuel faster levels of growth and development within our country.
A homeowners improvement fund has been initiated, utilizing resources from the Citizenship by Investment Program, CIP. The homeowner with very low income whose home is in need of repairs may, after receiving an estimate of the repairs, borrow a maximum of $50,000, repayable in 10 years. The object is to make certain that houses which are subject to significant damage during a hurricane can be repaired and strengthened before the hurricane season so that damage can be minimized. The HAPPY Home Assistance Program for the Indigent has been designed to ensure that those who have suffered a catastrophe can be immediately helped by the deployment of the state's resources. HAPPY has rebuilt the homes of indigent villagers that have been destroyed by fire and who possess no material resources to start all over again. The elderly, whose incomes are fixed and trifling, have also been assisted by the program to fix their homes so that they may live a dignified life.
It's about empowering you, the people. You can believe in the reliability of our words. We have never deceived you, and we never will. We'll always speak truth to power, and we will always have the people of Antigua and Barbuda at the epicenter of everything that we do in this country. So again, I just want to thank you on this 5th anniversary. In essence, it's like completing our first term because, as you know, constitutionally, a term is 5 years. But 15 months ago, we thought that we were in such a strong position that we had performed, that we could stand on our record, and that is why we call elections early. We believe that we would have performed for you, and we believe that you were standing with us as you're standing with us now. And we ask you to continue to stand with the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, knowing that we will always deliver for you. At the end of the day, it's about you. It's not about me. It's not about my cabinet colleagues. It's about you. And we love you, and we'll make sure we continue to empower you, to care and to protect you, and to make sure that Antiguans and Barbudans enjoy living standards that are second to none. Once again, I thank you sincerely for your support, and we will always honor your support. I thank you.